Nutanix. Today we will talk about two really interesting subjects. One is Nutanix Unified Storage, so the data platform we are delivering from Nutanix, and the HYCU, the data protection part of this webinar. Let me first quickly introduce our three speakers. Rob de Lange, I will introduce myself in a minute. We have Marco and Peter from a more technical point of view, but they will introduce themselves while they get to their portion of this webinar. Today's agenda is about the my short elevator pitch. That's the most commercial it gets today. So I want to briefly introduce Nutanix Unified Storage, and then we look at the sales plays, and we go from that. Peter will take over from the architecture point of view, and then Marco will do the HYCU part of the webinar. And of course, we conclude with questions and answers. But while you're in the call, you can always drop us a question and answer in the question and answer part of this webinar. So from my point of view, I want to give you two messages today. First, let me introduce myself, Rob de Lange. I work with Nutanix for over a year now. My history has always been storage. So it's like I worked with a couple of IBM partners selling IBM storage. I sold Spectrum, well, it was called ADSM, ADSTAR Distributed Storage Management. So I go way back, I must say. But I worked for 15 years at Dell EMC, started at EMC and then moved to, well, we were bought by Dell, but always on the storage part of the organization. Since 1 year, as said, I'm working at Nutanix as a specialist sales for Nutanix Unified Storage. I cover North and Eastern Europe, and my buddy Peter is in this call right now, so he's keeping me honest. So what we're seeing in the market from a market perspective, well, the data storage market is really, really rapidly growing, and by far the majority of this data is unstructured. So that's the good news. That's where we are. But we also see data and apps, they are living across hybrid cloud. It's not like we're on-prem and we're only on-prem, or we're in the we're in the edge business or the data center. Everything is in the cloud. That shifts. So, like 4 years ago, everybody was cloud first, cloud strategy, cloud whatever, cloud unless, or whatever they called it. We now see a move going back from everything try to get everything into the cloud more to, well, there are some applications that might be better on-prem for security reasons or performance reasons or whatever reason that's in. But we also see rapid application development, really interesting stuff going on. And okay, there it is. AI is there, and everybody talks AI. I know there are vendors that have to say AI in every sentence about it because that's interesting enough, of course. We see in my history, we see there's a shift. So we used to think about silos of storage, right? So we think about the block storage for your Oracle database, maybe your mainframe or whatever was in there. So we had this silo of storage for block storage. We have a silo for files, for home directories or file shares. And we have a storage silo for objects, like for video surveillance or for your backup archive, whatever was in there, there's your backup and disaster recovery. So it was really much focused on these silos of storage that were out there. And each of these silos were supported by engineers supporting it. You have to do lifecycle management on those. You have to be certified on those. You have to maintain and do the maintenance and whatever you have to do on each and every one of those. For now, we look at this more like we need data services. We need, yes, sure, we need the storage, right? But on top of that storage, we need the services that make that storage enterprise ready. You can use that storage everywhere. It's available all the time. So we tend to think about storage like we from Nutanix, we think like it's software defined. And by being software defined, you are independent on the hardware layer. We don't care about the hardware layer. We're software defined and we're hardware vendor agnostic. We support most of them. So that's good. But by being software defined, file and object in one software defined architecture. And that, for me, that was jaw-dropping, right? From coming from a vendor that supports silos, appliances, and vendor lock-ins, then you have the freedom to choose whatever hardware you like. You have the intelligence of a software-defined stack with all the software in there for block, file, and object storage. And you can add to that these data services for everything you need in regards to availability or security or containers or AI. So when you move to the next slide, Peter, please. We built this Nutanix Unified Storage for every kind of data services, for every workload out there, any place, anywhere. And that's the beauty of our NUS offering. Our Nutanix Unified Storage gives you the freedom to handle your data on every spot, everywhere, always on. And if you go to the next page, please. So here it is, like all your data you can have, all the files, all the data and blocks and storage you like to have, with all the data services on top of that. And it's a mind share. And then what happens next is we at Nutanix, we're known for our HCI business, and we're market leader in the Magic Quadrant. Everything is there. But when you have this HCI cluster going on, you can look at the other silos out there in your organization. Take, for instance, backup. And then you say, okay, we have a dedicated storage silo for backup. We need to maintain that, do the maintenance, do the certification, lifecycle management, whatever. What if you can move that workload from your dedicated storage silo to your HCI cluster? Our customers tells us by doing that, you don't need those all those storage administrators and lifecycle management or whatever you have to pay, and your costs go down 50 to 55% just by moving that to the HCI cluster. And imagine what that would mean to all these other workloads you have in all these silos of storage. So here we are looking at any server, any cloud, any location kind of, any service, any data, any workload solution we're having out there. So that's my first pitch I wanted to say to everybody attending. We have a unified storage platform, software, hardware independent, and on top of that, we have data services, so you can run any data, any service, any workload, anywhere. That's the beauty of NUS. But we stopped thinking about this traditional data storage kind of thing. We think about a data platform, and what we mean with a data platform is more like, it's not about storing your data. It's not about spinning disk in a 4U rack with some intelligent software in there that makes it a little bit better available or something. It's about where's your data, or maybe it's more about what's your workload? What are you trying to solve? What is it you need? What's your AI strategy? What's your strategy on application development? And what do you need from a data perspective to run these kind of workloads? And that's what we from Nutanix are thinking about already a long time. Because, for instance, if you go to the next slide, please. So your file shares, your home directories, your archiving, these are the workloads you like to focus, to concentrate in this NUS kind of approach, right? So you stop thinking about, I need to store my data somewhere. It has to be an S3 bucket or whatever. It's more about, I have this data. I use this data to build applications or to run my backup or to build a data vault or whatever you want to do with that data. That's the more interesting part. And we thought about a couple of those. And the next two slides are also on workloads. You can go to the next two slides, please. But just show it like, where do your thought process go? Like, we need containers, we need generative AI, predictive AI. We need to go to the next slide, please. Here's your big data, your medical imaging, your video surveillance, whatever is out there. You need a data platform to support these kind of applications, workloads. And we from Nutanix, we have a long list of supported. It's not like it's application development, right? But these are application vendors out there, and for all these workloads, we work with a couple of those software vendors to make it a truly software-defined storage stack, a data platform where you have your data and this services on top of this. Well, let's call it the stack. And because I of course I hate to say an appliance, because appliance is everything that's not, you don't need to. I mean, it's vendor. You have a vendor lock-in, and you're depending on the hardware vendor. We're software. We're from software. We are software defined and vendor agnostic. Please, next slide, please. And this is the one where it really kicks in. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we not thinking about data storage? Why are we thinking about the data platform? And as said earlier, saving 50 to 55% of your cost of each storage silo that's focused on one application, that on its own is a reason to think about NUS, I guess. And then we have the other workloads, and big companies maybe have 5 or 10, or I spoke to customers with 25 workloads. And if you can remove, let's say, half of the cost of each and every workload by moving to a unified platform, that would be great. So with that, I'd like to turn the mic to Peter.
Thank you, Rob. I hope you can hear me. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
So hi, I'm Peter. I am part of the solution architect team that covers EMEA for unified storage. My history goes back a long ways. I'm losing my hair and getting old. Been in the industry for 25 plus years. I used to work in operations, architecture around storage, networking, and so on. In the finance industry, worked 5 years at Commvault as a solution architect before joining Nutanix now 5 years ago as well, March 1st. So in a couple of weeks, I've been here 5 years, focusing specifically on unified storage. You're very welcome to hit me up on email and LinkedIn if you want to. We're here to support you in any way, shape, or form that you would need. So piggybacking on what Rob just said, and maybe diving a few steps deeper into the architecture, but still keeping it high level. I want everybody to be on board. If you want detailed sessions, reach out to me and Rob. You have the details here. You're welcome to hit me up on email as well. And then we can set up sessions to go even deeper. We can join the customer calls, whatever you need. We're here to support in this region. So setting things into perspective, we're talking about the Salmon color boxes. We have the rest of the platform. So what Rob was saying, don't buy siloed solutions. Have a platform where you can run this. And I'm, of course, going to talk to you as well, segueing into HYCU, where HYCU runs on our platform as well. So basically see it as HYCU in a box, a backup appliance, software-driven, flexible scaling, and so on, but more about that later. But next to us, we have all the other services, and the integral part that we actually run on our NCI platform gives us a lot of flexibility and capabilities because it's a hyperscaling platform. So step further down in the Salomon boxes is all about the services. You've seen the slide before, but I want to touch on the different pieces within these services. So in file services, you've got the code already. If you've got a Nutanix platform, you can enable all these services as part of your infrastructure. You've got a 1 terabyte license for free for each cluster, so you can start playing with it. And then you just top it up with terabytes of consumed capacity within the services. That's the only thing you buy across all your clusters in your environment, from edge to core to cloud, across all the estate. That is what you pay for. It can be a hyper-converged environment. So say you have a dedicated NAI enterprise AI platform, you've got HYCU in a box, whatever it is, you've got your VMs next to your storage or a dedicated storage cluster. Whatever the purpose is, it's all about commercials and the way we can scale with you guys as well. So file services, distributed file system across all the nodes in a cluster. So from a single node to 32 nodes to multiple clusters with a single namespace of SMB and NFS shares. So you got the services for both your Kubernetes and your Windows machines and your Linux VMs in a joint operation there. Highly available and highly distributed. Object services as well, scaling even further into hundreds of clusters, starting again really small. There's no penalty in that. There's only the compute part that you need to run the services. The rest is all about licensing on the object's capacity. So again, really easy to deploy, all REST API based. You can call it from your automation tool of choice. You can call it from ServiceNow. So when you want to stand up a service like this, you can do it straight from your platform of choice. It's all managed through Prism Central. We've got Data Lens as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute as well, all about auditing and analytics. And we've got the services for the for the developers. So the CSI drivers for both files and volumes. Volumes is iSCSI LUNs. I didn't speak about that in detail, but that is iSCSI LUNs out of the clusters themselves. But provisioning, persistent volumes and persistent volume claims can be done directly from here, using our CSI driver for files and volumes and our COSI driver for objects. So we've got the Kubernetes environment covered. They've got an objects browser where they can actually access the data in the object store and do self-service from the object store. So if they got the right key, access key and security key, they can manage their object store directly from here and do self-provisioning. So we've got both camps set up, the operations piece and the development piece. Starting small, always secure, and then flexible consumption. So what's under the hood there? Stepping even further down. We've got the lifecycle, the protection, and the security covered. Whatever disciplines you have in these different boxes, we have to cover them as an enterprise platform, as Rob was also talking about. So whether we want to do tiering and archiving in terms of storing data initially on files, but tiering that data off to cheaper storage or even third-party object stores to slim down your file servers to make them more agile, to use the right hardware for the right purposes, but still being totally software independent and platform independent as well. So you could tier it off to cloud, have files running in cloud as well, and using files replication as one of the protection mechanisms to actually replicate data from your on-prem location on Lenovo to another one running on Dell and into your hybrid cloud running in AWS maybe. So you've got all the different pieces where you can have the flexibility of snapshotting, replication, and data governance across these things. So you can focus more of your time on servicing what really makes money at the company side is the application owners, the time to market to be more flexible and faster to market with the technologies, and less so on which kind of service, which kind of protocol, and so on. You have it in the toolbox to present it to the users that they need. To secure all this, we've got data lens, as I talked about. And data lens is overencompassing the four disciplines that you see on the bottom. Everything is around auditing, auditing and governance around the data. So inline auditing of data coming from both files and objects into data lens, and being able to add the security of ransomware protection, alerting, blocking, visibility into what data do you actually have. Govern that with permissions and risk analytics, because we know what's going on in real time, we can actually add value to this. And think about inferencing and data management on AI. We want to make sure that we don't put anything that is crucial security concern into a model that could be then inferenced by somebody else. So we need to make sure that all this data is secured and stripped from what we need to do. As we have all the data, we can analyze that and make sure that we can move it in the right location. So say you want to move it into AWS S3. What we did recently is integrate AWS 3 as native storage into a data lens as well. So not just things sitting on hardware in the edge in the core, or Nutanix Unified Storage files that can run natively in AWS, but also buckets that lives in AWS can now be integrated into data lens. We also look into data classification, which is the future. So no promises, but coming down the road, we're also looking into sensitive information around data classification, around what's in objects and files as well, to add even more to this story. So good information there, and definitely something I would explore if I were you, to get that visibility into what data do I actually have across all my estate of unstructured data. So segueing into backup and archive and why we need NUS. Why is it different? Why are we any different from other appliances that you can buy out there, or other services that delivers services for backup vendors? We've got a variety of vendors here. And of course, I want to focus on my friends here in HYCU, which has been here since we started and have been a fantastic partner all the way through. But what do we deliver as a backbone to a backup appliance or a backup system, I should probably say? We enable the encryption in between. So one thing is some vendors do deliver some encryption between their storage and so on, depending on where their agents are. But we deliver the in-flight SSL encryption and data at rest encryption. So you can trust that the data stored in the devices, if needed, we can make sure that they're encrypted all the way through. We enable worm protection, so we can do object logging and we can do legal hold on the data in the buckets. Validated and certified all the way through, so nobody can actually tweak and do anything about it. There is FUD around whether you can circumvent this, and that is not possible in the platform. So you can trust that part. The scalability is probably one of the bigger ones as well. As I said, you can have single nodes, 3 nodes, 32 nodes, 48 nodes, hundreds of clusters in a single namespace. So you can start really small. But when I worked at Commvault, what I used to see is that you start out with an appliance, you go cheap, you just buy that appliance to back it up, and at a certain point, you get micromanaging, because then you're running out of that. When you buy another one, then you need to fit in your schedules. Where do I fit the storage? And then another one and another one. If you're of a certain scale, you want to get rid of that and make sure that you have the security, you have the flexibility to scale, and to make sure that you can utilize different options as well. Because we can then tier off the data, either using the backup software to do it, or we can do it for you. And then, of course, crucially, when we talk backups, is to be able to restore it back. To have the bandwidth of a distributed setup that can really feed the restore process to get that data back as fast as possible. Because one thing is, back it up and crunch it and compress it and so on, but we need to be able to hydrate it back to be able to do that in a reasonable fashion within the SLAs that you have with the business. And then for legacy purposes, if you do need NFS access to some applications that don't support the backup application even, you can dump your data straight in the same buckets and make sure that it's protected exactly the same way. So The final thing that makes it even more perfect is that you can run your HYCU appliances straight on the storage device. Because it's the same AOS platform, you can run virtual machines on these nodes. And as part of the license of NUS, you can run these backup entities on your nodes within the same license. So you actually got it covered in terms of both the software and the storage capacity on that side. So final thing I want to say is when you want to test it out even more, you can talk to me, and we can set up sessions to go even deeper. But I would encourage you to go to Nutanix.com, use the test drive. You get a cluster for free for 4 hours plus 4 hours if you wanted more. There's different scenarios specifically for unified storage, but other services as well. So have a play, have a feel. NUS is included, NUS Pro is included as a 1 TB for free for each NCI cluster that you have at customers. So there's definitely an aggregate of data already available. Data Lens comes at a promo, so check it out and test it out as well. And then for you guys at a partner level or anything technical specific, I want to emphasize that Nutanix Tech Center, so nutanix.com/tech center, there's a ton of material here, the validated designs that Rob was talking about as well. So us tailoring it with other vendors as well. We're working together with all the vendors out there. We're working with NVIDIA at the moment as well to make validated designs and reference architectures. So you can use that and be confident that it works when you want to deploy it in the wild. All right, so that's more or less what I had for you guys. So I want to turn it over to Marco on the HYCU side.
Yeah, everyone. Good morning, first of all. I'm Marco from HYCU. I'm a system engineer in HYCU, and today I'll be talking a bit about our solution, and of course a bit about our company, since I guess some of you might not be as familiar with HYCU. So the HYCU itself is a US-based company. We are stationed in Boston. We have a bunch of offices all over the world, primarily Europe, Australia, Japan, India, of course, and a bit more. And as an organization, we have few large investors backing us. So we have Bain Capital, Atlassian, one of our partners, except being a investor, Okta, Cisco, and Acru, of course. As a company, currently we have more than 4,200 customers running our software and being protected by HYCU, let's say, and we are present in more than 78 countries. HYCU itself is a data protection solution, primarily focused on there is not really a primary focus for us. We are trying to protect everything. That's the idea. We started as a Nutanix first platform, but with the years we developed further, and currently we support, of course, Nutanix. We have really good integration with Nutanix, all of the Nutanix platforms. We have great integration with several more hypervisors. And we also have a wide variety of SaaS applications and cloud platforms that we can protect for you. On the next slide, you'll be able to see the list of our customers. So you can actually see that on this list, we don't really have a specific, let's say, target audience that we can actually work with a lot of different companies with the different ideas behind them and the different needs. And the last one you'll actually see in the middle here is the Nutanix themselves. So when we started in 2017, we started as a primary as a Nutanix solution, and we were the first Nutanix specific solution that had a full integration with Nutanix on the API level, not just workarounds. And Nutanix saw us as a good partner for that. And even today, we are protecting some of the Nutanix workloads internally. We even developed some of the specific use cases for them that were their own requirement. Today, you can actually see that businesses have specific needs and that businesses have specific ways of moving forward. So the first one of those is the transformation itself. The transformation is necessary in order to keep up with new technologies, in order to keep up with the demands of the market, and to engage new parts of the market to increase your, let's say, portfolio, to increase your target audience. And the transformation itself usually does lead to a growth of the company itself. So where you can actually automate with transformation, you can automate protection of existing revenue and move towards increased speed of innovation, and in that way develop a new revenue streams or increase the target audience. All of that comes at a price, especially in today's day and age when the technology is the driver of all of those. So all of those tend to have some level of risks which needs to be managed. Today's security of IT infrastructure is utmost important for all of the companies, and it simply cannot be overlooked. And that's where companies like Nutanix and HYCU come into play, where we can actually manage your structure in a better way, make it more compact, make it more focused on specific needs you actually have. Constraints, of course, are the budget. That's the first and the highest one of them all, where you, as a company, you tend to use less and less resources to do more and more stuff. So today's technology offers you to, as I previously mentioned, to focus more on a specific needs you have, not to diverge too much from your specific goals. And of course, to help you with the staffing. Staffing is the really important in this day and age where, yet again, on cost optimization, you try to reduce the amounts of staff. You want to have a more skilled staff. You want to have more specialized people to actually do your work more efficiently. Yet again, Nutanix and HYCU in a combination can help with this, can help address this, simply because when you reduce the footprint of your whole data estate, or let's say your whole IT estate, you will reduce the need for divergence in your specializations. So smaller teams will be able to do stuff more efficiently, will be able to focus more on one platform that you are actually running. And at the end of this time, because time is money, at the end of the story, with the specific time constraints, you need to focus more, yet again, on smaller environments, easier to manage, less divergent, and all of that will increase the speed of economic success, let's say, simply because you will need to use less of your energy to maintaining stuff, and you can focus on further developing. HYCU R-Cloud is a #1 data protection for platform, simply because our integration with Nutanix is uncomparable with any other solution. We have multiple Nutanix validated designs and blueprints, which you can find on Nutanix support platform, and you can actually see if your use case is valid, if you can actually run it. And something where we are actually in line with Nutanix is our NPS, or Net Promoter Score. So we have best customer experience in the backup industry, similar to as the Nutanix has in the hypervisor industry, where Net Promoter Score actually is the satisfactory index of your customers in communication with your support, or in communication with your company and how satisfied they are with the product. The 91 is really high index. Everything above 15 is considered good, so this is the best in the industry, setting the standards. You can see on the right here all of the platforms that we integrate with Nutanix on. So all of the platforms that Nutanix can run, we can integrate with, we can help with, we can make the management of the backup easier. We can make that jobs automated. We can help you, of course, with the DR scenarios and everything else. Here on the list, you can see that we now have a support for the NDB. We are the first platform that can actually fully support and natively support the NDB on Nutanix. And besides that, you can see that we also have a full integration with NUS. So we can actually utilize all of the NUS functionalities that Nutanix offers. On the next slide, you'll be able to see that we have a full integration with NAS on different levels. So we can now actually protect Nutanix objects and Nutanix files. We can utilize change file tracking, granular just a virtual appliance running underneath the Nutanix or on the Nutanix cluster itself. You can easily scale it up and down up to your specific needs. You just give it a bit more processing power or a bit more memory, and you're good to go. We utilize the native functionalities of the platform, such as the change file tracking. So when doing the backup of Nutanix objects or Nutanix files, you can actually easily do incremental backups just by sending a simple prompt to the Nutanix through the APIs, and we get back the information, which files, which specific files, or which specific objects need to be backed up. We, of course, can also do the backup of the hybrid cloud infrastructure and SaaS applications to Nutanix objects and, of course, to Nutanix files. But let's focus here on Nutanix objects, since that is a really good storage for your backups for multiple reasons. First of all, it is compact, it's easy to manage, it's easy to to configure, and the most important thing, it is immutable and it can be air-gapped if configured properly. So it is a object storage. You can enable object lock on it. It can be worm enabled, so all of your data can be safe from any kind of ransomware attack or anything similar or any malware. So your data can be immutable, can be immune to any kind of change or deletion, even by accident or by malevolent causes. And besides that, important thing here is that you can actually back up your SaaS applications on the Nutanix objects, which enables you to keep your SaaS estate, so the cloud estate, can be kept on your on-prem. So you can actually have copy of your cloud data in-house. So in case of any kind of external attacks to any infrastructure that's actually not yours, your data will be safe. You will have your copy safe on-prem. On the next slide, you'll be able to see that you can actually see that we also have the full integration with Nutanix database services, as I mentioned. We are the first backup vendor to actually integrate with NDB. And we can actually back up the NDB virtual machines in a specific way. And in our UI, they are marked as a specific NDB VMs. So we take special care of the VMs, simply not to disturb the time machine, not to disturb any of the underlying NDB structure that actually helps you make the platform safer, faster, easier to manage. And we offer the true data protection as a 3-to-1, so you can actually have your 3 copies, 2 of them offsite, 1 of them immutable. So you can actually have full proper data protection for your NDB. Besides that, we have a way to enhance the NDB performance, a bit more on that on the next slide. And we simplify the way you do your recovery. So you can keep your, when we switch to the next slide, you can see that we have a wide variety, that we have a specific integration with NDB. So we support all of the databases that NDB supports, and we can help make this platform even better. So the platform itself has a NDB protection, which keeps the snapshots for a specified time period. We can help you to reduce the number of snapshots you actually need to keep on the platform itself. That will speed up the platform, reduce the load on it, and you can keep multiple copies offsite, outside the platform itself. We offer you the ability to keep the copies on a bunch of different storages. You can keep it on any cloud storage. You can keep it on-prem, on objects, or on any other NAS or any HYCU storage. You can keep it wherever you want, simply because we as a provider are storage agnostic. So you can use any storage you prefer. When talking about the restores themselves, you can actually have a different retention periods for your different storage types. So you can keep your archives, long-term archives, for months or years on end, depending on your specific needs. And you can have your primary copies backed up and kept for 30 days or 60 days, depending on your specific need. And of course, you can keep your daily snapshots on the clusters themselves. Those are snapshots separate from the NDB snapshots, the ones that we actually create, and then the ones that are HYCU owned. Besides that, you of course have NDB protection, where you can keep your snapshots for a few days. You can do them every 15 or 30 minutes, depending on your use case. But yet again, keep the copy of everything for years on end if you need to, let's say, have a immutable copy of the whole environment. And if you need to keep your archives to see through the history of the storages. I mentioned previously that we don't really tamper with the databases themselves. So all of the log truncations, all of the database operations that themselves are left for the NDB to manage, simply because it is a proper database platform. We just do the backup of what we are given by the NDB. Well, now that we have a backup, the most important part here is the restore itself. We offer the ability to spin up the NDBs to the NC2, so you can actually move the on-prem environment to the cloud easily. You can create a clone of the environment in the cloud, and you can easily clone even in the same environments to create some kind of, let's say, development or DevOps copy of the database where you can actually play around with it. Besides that, all of the VMs can be moved to the native clouds. So even if you are not running NC2, we can help you move your database to the native clouds. On the next slide, you'll actually see you'll actually see that I need to switch my screen over to you. Give me a second to share my screen. Okay, I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Great. And here I'm going to hold a short demo to show you the integration with the Nutanix Unified Storage. So what we can actually do, you can actually see live how we can actually protect that data and how we can use it to protect the other Nutanix data. So here in the sources, so this is the dashboard where you can have an overview of the whole environment and easily manage to find anything you might want. In the sources, you can see that we have hypervisors, so we support Nutanix, of course, but also in the file servers, you can see that we can back up Nutanix files. And besides that, we can back up S3 compatible servers. So underneath here, we can also do the full backup of Nutanix objects if you want to protect any part of your Nutanix objects environment. Once you add those here in the shares, you will be actually able to see it. So you can see the Nutanix files. And underneath the S3, we also have several Nutanix objects, which we can actually back up. All of those can have a granular restore, where you can restore just a single file. And when doing the restore of a single file, you will, of course, be able to search through all of the files we have in the environment and be able to restore a single of them or choose a folder which you want to restore or home environment. And you have option to restore it to any of the other file servers you might have or any external NFS SMB or download it locally. So if you're looking for a single file and want to compare the version with the current one, you can actually download it locally and check it. All of the file shares that we back up can actually be enabled for incremental forever backup. So you do not really need to do the full backups from time to time. You can always do incrementals, and when doing that on Nutanix files and Nutanix objects, we actually can utilize the change file tracking that is natively available there through the API calls and really fast create a incremental backup for you simply by sending a API request to the Nutanix, and we get the information back which are the new files since the last backups or which are the changed files since the last backup. Besides that, in the targets, which are the storage where we keep the backups, you can actually see that we support Nutanix files and Nutanix objects, besides other options. So we can utilize Nutanix files and objects, and we can utilize their native capabilities. So when we switch over here, you can actually see that we can utilize dedupe, erasure coding, hardware compression. So everything that is available natively in the platform can be utilized. And in the Nutanix objects, we also can utilize the form, so we can actually enable the object lock on it. So all of the data kept there can be mutable for a specific time period of your choosing. This integration is done through the native functionality of the Nutanix objects. So you need to enable this object lock on Nutanix objects and define it there, and then we will recognize it as a worm or write once, read many storage. All of the backups that are run here are run through the policies. So in the policies, you can define how often would you like to do your backups. We can actually calculate the RTO for you, so you can calculate how fast can the recovery be done. So we can tell we want to recover in 5 hours for specific use cases. And you can, of course, choose to create your archives or your copies or keep the fast restore. Fast restore enables us to keep several snapshots on the Nutanix storage, on Nutanix clusters themselves, on the storage layer of Nutanix cluster. When keeping snapshots, that enables you to do a really fast restore to the Nutanix environment simply because data is already there on the cluster. We just need to move it to a different place. And one unique functionality for Nutanix is backup from replica. So if you're running Robo environment, we can actually utilize the Nutanix protection domain and create backups from the already copied snapshots on the primary location or on the central location. All of these and more details you can have in custom demo with HYCU. If you want to get more details on any of these, you can get in touch with us and we will give you a more information that you would need, actually, all that you would need and a bit more. And you will be able to see all of the stuff we can do. So how we protect the virtual machines, what we can do with them, how we can migrate them cross-platform, how we can spin them up to the cloud and from the cloud to the Nutanix back again. So that's it. That's what I wanted to show you today. We can switch back again to the presentation. Yeah, data protection for Nutanix and beyond. That's because we, besides Nutanix, have a wide variety of supported platforms. I mentioned previously that we can back up SaaS applications. Currently, we have more than 60 SaaS application integrations, and besides that, we can also do the backup of all of the big cloud vendors. So we can actually back up your cloud compute, cloud storages. We can shift those to the on-prem with utilizing Nutanix objects, or of course, we can back them up to any of the cloud storage of your choosing. You can get started with Nutanix easily by scanning this QR code, where you can apply to test it out for free. All of our platforms can be tested out for free, where you can actually try everything for yourself and see if it suits your specific needs. Of course, we will be there to help you every step of the way, so you can easily test out all of the functionalities that might come in handy for you. Okay, that would be it for today's presentation. Now we would like for you to ask us some questions and to see if there is anything that you would like to know more about Nutanix or HYCU, and if there is anything that you want to know that we might have missed out during the presentation.
Jelena, I'm not sure whether people are able to ask questions, or at least they can put it in the chat.
Yes, or maybe they're shy, but I'm sure that the first question will probably be something around pricing. So if we can discuss that a bit, that would be also good.
Yeah. So the pricing in HYCU depends on which platform are you going for. If we are talking about the Nutanix platform, the pricing is in line with Nutanix, so we can do the by core if you are backing up your virtual machines, and if you are looking to back up your NAS or Nutanix files, we are looking at per capacity, so depending on the amount of data you actually want to back up.
So, Marco, there is no charge on the backend capacity. Is that correct? Understood?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, fantastic. Rob, sorry.
Yeah. From a NUS perspective, I wanted to ask that, of course, we have 3 data services: block, file, and object. But we're licensed, we're priced based on capacity. So it's the same pricing if you would go object or file or whatever you wanna use. It's a capacity-based pricing, and we have these tiers. So pricing goes down when the capacity goes up. That's why I cannot tell you it's this amount per terabyte, because it depends on the tier you're having. So the capacity, that's very much depending on the pricing. That's what I wanted to add.
So I guess in summary, in terms of capacity license, as it's already aligned between HYCU and Nutanix on the primary side, it does not matter how many locations you have. It's all on the core count for like HCI clusters, of course. But if we talk NUS, it's all about what are you protecting and how much are you actually storing on Nutanix objects for that matter. So all the efficiencies goes towards saving on the hardware. Whatever we do on the software side to compress and erasure code and all that is all done to save on the hardware bits at the end.
Perfect. Well, all of the registrants will get this presentation anyway, so they can again look into the codes we shared and get in touch with Peter or Rob or us at HYCU. And with that, we can close off. And I thank you, Marco, Rob, Peter, for this, and wish everyone a happy day, lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the attention.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.